Hi, I'm Renny Hartman. I'm going to talk today about Girl in the Rearview Mirror by Kelsey Ray Dimberg. I got this book, oddly enough, in the dollar store for $1, just for something to look at. I had never heard of it. Evidently, it came out in 2019 and was well known to some degree. I hate to see a book that is worth something just kind of thrown in the heap in the remainder file and you don't get any chance to see it or hear it, or for the person who wrote it to be recognized and thanked for the effort. Um, I'll tell you the basic plot a little bit. There's a young woman in it. Her name is actually Natalie, but she has a problem in her suburb outside Chicago, and feels that she has to leave, and she leaves and she goes to Arizona, where in the beginning she's a young woman working professionally, and she meets people and gets hired as a nanny by a family whose grandfather, the elder member of the family, is a senator. He's a national senator, so he's one of the two senators of Arizona who would go to Washington, D.C. when he had to. She becomes, she thinks, part of this Martin family. The son is the grandfather's heir, and people think that he will become the senator after his grandfather retires or becomes deceased. And Finn becomes really charmed and involved with the family. She has a little girl who's 3 when it starts and supposedly 4. I think the little girl acts more like a 7 or 8 year old, but that's neither here nor there. And the little girl is serious part of the plot. What she wants and what she doesn't want, and what she thinks and what happens to her. Um, Supposedly, everybody in the story has secrets that no one should find, but Finn kind of becomes an underground detective of her own to discover what the family problems are. She's involved in them to some extent also, and her own secret that she's leaving behind her, that's what's in the rear view mirror, comes out a little bit also. And I'm going to read a couple things from it. She wrote for her introduction, which was intriguing to begin with. You see, Mr. Gitz, this is from Chinatown, most people never have to face the fact that at the right time and at the right place they're capable of anything. From Noah Cross from Chinatown. And then she has another. There's the cold in your stomach, but you open the envelope, and you have to open the envelope, for the end of man is to know, from Robert Penn Warren, All the King's Men. It certainly seems to be very intriguing. She writes well. Her descriptions are interesting. The writing is very fluid. Now, I looked up criticism, some of which said they didn't like the characters, they thought they were too flat. They didn't like Finn because they thought she wasn't vivid enough. I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think Finn is a very strong character. I'm going to read this paragraph because I think some of her descriptions are really interesting. The elevator doors opened, releasing us into the hot night. The insistent heat pulsed. Bass notes registered as a buzzing pressure in the air. Searchlights panned the sky. In the crowd milling on the sidewalk, the dominant theme was skin, bare shoulders and plunging necklines, dresses that barely skimmed thighs, teeth and tans. Drunk girls swayed to the music, but most people stood still, shouting out over it, hearing nothing. Sounds like too many parties sometimes. And I think that her style carries the reader along really well. And I would suggest that people who are interested, the descriptions of Arizona, the implications of what might be wrong with the senator. We're so used today to having material on corrupt politicians. what might be wrong with the family that Finn is working for, or the little girl who's only 4 years old throughout the book. And what happens at the end is not certainly anticipated. I'm not sure it couldn't be sharper. In criticisms that I read, many compared the book to Gone Girl, which was a big thing some years ago. I was given 2 copies at one time, one for my birthday and once for Christmas in the same month of December. And I did read the book, and I saw the movie in which Ben Affleck is the husband. But I have to say, Gone Girl is punchier and nastier. The woman character is certainly much more less likable. I am not sure that likability is what must develop characters. I think the characters in this book are pretty well delineated and have depth to them. On the other hand, everybody should experience their own reaction, and I would suggest that with time and energy, it's not a hard book to read and has a lot of interesting material.